A NASCAR document has been leaked and it is talking about something that I'm sure we have thought of. We may have talked about it, but it might be actually happening. Could NASCAR have an electric car series or be transitioning to more electric? Let's talk about this, okay? As I'm sure almost everyone is aware, electric cars have become more and more, I guess, popular. More of them are being made, more of them are being purchased. They're rising up. I don't know what the proper terminology would be, but electric cars are becoming more common. Of course, there's Tesla. Ford has started making electric cars with their electric Mustangs, and they got kind of the it's not like a true Mustang. It looks like a mixture between an SUV and the Mustang. I don't know what it's technically called, but then other manufacturers are also making electric cars, electric trucks, electric SUVs, whatever it may be. Electric cars are a thing, and then of course in the motorsports world, there's Formula E. I think IndyCar and F1 both have electric components to their engines, their power units, whatever it may be. So electric cars are becoming a very, I don't know what the proper term would be. I don't know, popular, more used, more common is the word, but it's becoming a thing, and a document was leaked or released or somehow obtained by kickinthetires.net, Jerry Jordan, and it's basically saying there could be a prototype electric series NASCAR. Now, I don't think this would be the Cup Series. I don't think it would be any of the top 3 series. I think it would be its own separate thing. But let's look at some of the details, some of the words that were said. Screenshots of a document leaked to an online chat forum and obtained by Kicking the Tires purportedly, I'm struggling here, shows NASCAR's intention to debut a prototype electric vehicle ahead of the 2023 Busch Clash at the Coliseum, and then morph that prototype into a racing series at 6 racing venues, likely aligned with Cup Series events. NASCAR did not address the document specifically, which was provided to them, nor confirmed if it was theirs. However, the following statement was provided to Kicking the Tires. As we have mentioned in the past, we are exploring the potential for an EV, which I'm assuming is electric vehicles, demonstration series. We're currently working with our OEM partners and race teams as the program progresses. So, yeah, basically NASCAR is looking at doing, potentially, if this document, this leak is true, NASCAR next year, the Clash. Remember, the Clash of the Coliseum, it was this year. It was confirmed that it's going to be next year in February. This is, 5, 6, 7 months away, and we could be having some type of prototype electric car built by NASCAR, made by NASCAR, given to teams to be made for NASCAR, could be on a NASCAR racetrack. So that's very interesting to hear that, just because, as I said, the rising popularity, the rising demand of electric cars with all the environmental talk. I don't want to get into that because I know that's controversial. People get really upset over it. So we're not going to get into details. Plus, I don't know a lot. But anyways, electric cars becoming a big thing now. Anyways, NASCAR is looking to develop an electric car of some sort. I don't know if it would be like 100% electric, hybrid, 90. I don't know. But yes, I think it was Steve Phelps. The article does say, so let me get there real quick. It was Steve O'Donnell. So he's the NASCAR COO. He said that they were looking into an exhibition series with electric vehicles. So, they had been looking into it, but they hadn't pulled the trigger on anything. They hadn't developed anything, or they hadn't at least said yet, but they were saying that they were thinking about it. So this has been in the talks. It says in March. So it's been talked about for a while. It's been thought of. I'm sure fans have thought about it too, but, obviously NASCAR has always used, gas-fueled engines. You use fuel, Sunoco racing fuel, that whole thing. So they've been using kind of gas engines. Sure, the engines have changed. Components of the engines have changed, I'm sure, over the years. The amount of horsepower, the small things that I don't know about the engine. Lots of things have changed. But one thing is not changed, and that is that you need gasoline to make that engine run. Well, now it could be batteries that power this engine. Some of the details about this would be demonstrating and focusing on the high performance capability of electric vehicles, implement BEV racing in NASCAR that is fiscally responsible to the participating teams and OEMs, use learnings from the 2023-2024 Exhibition Series to determine best path forward in National Series for 2025. Then the document also indicates common electric vehicle powertrains that would be used in Phase 1. They would include all-wheel drive, DC voltage 900 volt max, motors, 3 ultra-high power, horsepower, yeah, cool, power regenerational unit, 200 kilowatts, someone with a engineering major, translate, please. I know kilowatts, voltage, that all has to do with electronics. Yeah, I got a big brain up here sometimes. You hear that? That's my big brain talking. Horsepower, all that stuff. 2023 Busch Clash, here's some more stuff on it. 6 venues, 2 30-minute races per weekend, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, 12 vehicles, 3 or 4 per OEM. Let's see here. No battery swaps or charging, non-competitive pit stops for tires or to fix a crash damage. Because, just because you're going electric doesn't mean you're not going to crash anymore. So the goals of this series would be to introduce NASCAR fans to full electric performance vehicles. So that answers my earlier question. It's going to be full electric. To evaluate the entertainment, engagement, acceptance, and interest. Demonstrate and focus on the high performance capability of electric vehicles. Implement BEV racing in NASCAR that is fiscally responsible. We just said that. The next-gen chassis with modified front and rear clips to package powertrain and batteries, retain suspension and brakes, current cup my gosh, I've been speaking English my whole life. I'm struggling today. That word, bodies, investigate SUV, CUV bodies, OEM decision, common EV powertrains in Phase 1, STARD, S-T-A-R-D. We just talked about that. Establish safety best practices from other electric series and modify per NASCAR specs because, you don't want the car catching on fire. Evaluate options for sound from natural to OEM specific. NASCAR owns or has perpetual license to all IP. So, yeah, it looks like they're thinking about doing a kind of temporary, small electric series just to kind of see what NASCAR fans think. I am going to take a wild guess because NASCAR fans are so positive to every new change. The Chicago Street Course, the LA Coliseum, whatever it may be, the next-gen car, everything. NASCAR fans are so accepting. I think they're going to hate this. I mean, come on. NASCAR fans are critical of everything. Theoretically, every fan base is critical of everything when it comes to change, but I would expect NASCAR fans to be critical of this, to be skeptical, of course, and to question the decision-making for this, because this would be a major change, obviously. The components of the car, obviously, the sound of the car, one of the best things about going to the race is, hearing the engines roar as they go on by, feeling the ground shake. It's so cool. I don't know what electric engines would be like. I don't know if you could get it like that. I don't know what you could do. I'm not an engineer, but basically it looks like electric NASCAR is possible, and it looks like 2025 they were talking about. Maybe 2026. I thought that's when the new engine was going to happen, but it looks like NASCAR may be looking to test some things for electric engines, and this could be potentially used in the future. You've seen other racing series, as I've said, kind of put electric components into their cars, and now NASCAR is looking at doing the same. They're not going to do it immediately. It's not like next year, 2023, all 36 cars in the field, all 40, however many you have, are going to have a fully electric engine or even a hybrid engine. I think everything's going to stay the same for a couple of years, but NASCAR is exploring, they are testing, they are looking at potentially doing electric components to the car, or maybe even at some point, I don't know, would they fully transition to a full-blown electric car for the Cup Series, for the Xfinity Series, Truck Series. Dale Jr. made a point on his podcast, I don't know when, but he was talking about how, you know, when you look at the manufacturers, this is a stock car racing, you know, a stock car based on the cars you see at the street. When you go out to your local Walmart and you park next to a Chevy Camaro, you're like, oh, that's the kind of car they got in the Cup Series. Or you go to get some dinner at Sonic and you go into your little the parking spot, and you look to your left, you're like, oh, that's a Ford Mustang. I see that in the Cup Series every week. Or, you know, you're just going to the park to take a walk. Just get out of the neighborhood for a bit, and you go and you park next to Toyota Camry. You're like, hey, I see that in the Cup Series every week. You know, that is what stock car, that's what these manufacturers want to do. They put the Chevrolet logo on there. They put the words Camaro. They kind of build it into a somewhat similar look, kind of, not really, sometimes, depending. And that is to, you know, get the viewer. Me, I'm watching a race. I'm wearing a Chevrolet shirt right now because, yeah, Chevrolet. Anyways, you know, I'm looking, if I'm in the market for a new car and I don't know what I want, and I look at the TV and I see a Toyota Camry up there, I'm like, oh, okay, Toyota Camry. You go on, do some research. You think it's a reasonable price. You like the safety features. You like the car, how it looks, and it's racing in NASCAR every week. So you can say, I'm racing the same car as a NASCAR driver. And you go out and buy it. And then you look at the Truck Series. It's kind of the same thing. You know, you see a Silverado. It looks nothing like a Silverado, but you see the word Chevrolet, or you got the bow tie, and then you see the word Silverado. You see the Toyota Tundra. Once again, it doesn't really look like it. F-150 doesn't really look like it. But anyways, my point being, you see all this stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, like, that, I could have that same car. Kind of. Not really. Because they look very different. Anyways, point being, Dale Jr. was making the point that the Xfinity Series kind of doesn't have that. The Xfinity Series bodies don't really look like the real cars, even though they have the names, the Camaro, the Supra, what's the Ford, the Mustang probably. They don't really have that feature of where the manufacturers are pushing for a certain car to be sold. So what if the Xfinity Series kind of became that electric? The manufacturers, so Ford, Chevrolet, GM, Toyota, they decided to use their electric cars and use it for the Xfinity Series. I thought that was an interesting point. Could that be possible? I don't know. But it is an interesting point to think about, you know, what kind of cars would be promoted in the Xfinity Series if it was to go electric. I don't think it's going to, that's just throwing something way out there. This is not anywhere reported or anything, but what if? So yeah, very interesting to think about, but that's all I got. There's been a lot of talk this week, a lot of rumors, a lot of reports, a lot of quotes as well. You know, the whole Kyle Busch, we haven't talked about it a lot on here, but I'm sure you guys are aware Kyle Busch's contract situation is very whack, very wild. It's hard to keep up with sometimes just because there's so much going on. It's hard to talk about it all at once. Kurt Busch was talking about his future. It sounds like he may retire at the end of 2023. I don't know. It wasn't very clear. Yeah, there's a lot going on. So any big news that's like confirmed and not just talk, we will talk about that. This was talk. This is being talked about. This is like a legit thing. Anyways, big changes, potentially. I don't know. This could be interesting. It could not be interesting. It could be a success and change NASCAR forever. It could be a failure and we never talk about it again. I don't know. But let me know what you think, and we'll see you in a later video.